Welcome once again to another episode of the Crimeycade podcast. I am Matt the Crime Fighter, and this is episode. Geez, I better make sure I've got audio here. All the time I have to play with sound settings and all that crap, and something sometimes always goes wrong, and it's unpredictable. But everybody can hear me loud and clear. Please say so. Well, here we go. Let's see if it get audio here. Yep, I got audio. Good. Episode 107 of the Crimeycade this week, and I'm gonna need to read this camera. All right, let's get to it. And I gotta share screen. Last week on the pod, we had Warren Davis, Gottlieb and Williams, designer and programmer. We covered some less traveled lore about Qbert and some of the other games, what he's doing now, kind of his gaming exploits over the years, not given as much attention as the orange guy there in the middle. And I've just been joined by the so-called real star of the show, this goofball right here. Yeah, she thinks she's the real star of the show. Anyway. Back to the stage. Whoops. All right. Crimeycade Podcast is on Facebook and Twitch. Facebook.com/Crimeycade. Twitch.tv/RepSheet. And past episodes of the pod are on YouTube. Time.cc/PWCI. And as usual, I've got to put in a Beezer post because it's not on the arcade floor at the Galvin Ghost Arcade, and Doc Beck roasted me over this game. Although I need to come up with something new on this soon because I've used this little slide about 3 weeks in a row. Update on the arcade tournament scene. Well, Friday night, Dumb Records in Springfield is going to have another pinball tournament. Friday, June 26th, starting at 7 o'clock, 6 p.m. warm-up, $7 entry fee. Downtown Springfield. Oh, I may be available for that. I may be able to get in on this for the first time. So, we'll see what happens. And this little goof was throwing a fit because I'm in this chair. She wants to go out. She already had her time outside, and she wants to go out again, or she wants me to get out of this chair and let her have it. All right. The Maiden Gaming League 68 is underway. The games are Asteroids Deluxe, Quick Kicks, 1942, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time, Super Mario Bros., and Space Invaders Night 5. In fact, they just announced that game as one of the Summer YOLO Olympics being run by Zurst. And she wants my chair real bad. As you can see, Crime Fighter, I'm in line number 5, and if you go all the way across, you see that rank shows me at number 1 at this moment. However, hot on my heels is one Donald Hayes in second. Yes. Donald Hayes is on my heels. And he has first place on 2 of these games already. The game that's giving me the most problems right now is 1942. Ranked, I'm at 93. I'd like to get I need to move up a few ranks, so I don't want to get too far behind. Yeah. Well, Asteroids Deluxe is giving me a lot of trouble. I was looking, I Need to cross 30,000. That'd be nice, but that game is bloody hard. Doggone UFOs seem to be a crap shot. They seem to not miss, whether it's the big one or the little one, and my shot doesn't seem to hit them. It's like it's a rough time just trying to line up to shoot them out of space. Anyway, Space Invaders 95, yeah, I love. That's actually a pretty good game. That's the only one of the Space Invaders series that GGA does not have on the arcade floor as of yet. And she needs to go somewhere because she's pacing back and forth for a fit that I won't give up the chair. But she's got to deal with it. So we'll see where this tournament goes. First two games close on July the 5th, which will be Asteroids Deluxe and Kicks. And 2 months out, actually less than. No announcement as of yet. Are we going to have a T20 tournament before anniversary? Is there going to be a T20 tournament after anniversary? We don't know. Duck is kind of procrastinating on giving a definitive answer. So, at this point, all I can say is I would not count on it happening. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Which I've already marked the time off. It's a good thing I didn't get the hotel room yet. But the other problem with not with rescheduling this, if they hold it later, is it going to come in conflict with something else I'm doing that weekend? That's the problem with them delaying this thing, or just kind of slow rolling an announcement, or just giving a definitive announcement as to what they're going to do. It just bugs me. And Newhouse Highest World Records, since it's Wednesday, all the scores seems to go in during the weekend, Monday and Thursday, but it's Wednesday, so we only have this. Damian Davis. It took him a while to verify the score, but he takes the house high on Battletoads. Kind of like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, just with different protagonists and a three-man team. Andrew Wasco takes Gaiapolis. It's a Konami game. 2,569 earlier this week. And over at Underground Retrocade, Ross Hagues raises the score on Iron Man Off-Road. 2.1 million points for that particular game. So I got a bit of an editorial comment since I didn't have all that much in the, yeah, you're right. Didn't have all that much in the announcement section. So gives me a good chance to give this editorial opinion that I've been kind of stuck on. Hang on a second. I'll try to get a screen up. Something I've complained about before and ranted on this very podcast a few times in the past is beefs with point pressing in on video games. Adding human rules to where you are told to play a game a certain way for a score to count, I haven't been a fan of doing. If the game doesn't penalize you for running up the score on the level, why should I not do it? Super Mario Bros. Arcade, which I complained about last week, has the longest set of goofy rules ever seen for a score to count. The speedrun community, in response, says, screw that. Anything that gets us to the end faster, we're doing it. The game I want to focus on is one Boomeranger, also known as Genesis by Day East. Player controls a caveman named Worley who is searching for treasure. It is a series of free-roaming open-world environments with maze exploration and treasure hunting elements from a top-down perspective. The player can move in 8 directions and attack enemies by throwing a boomerang. Some enemies ride on dinosaurs. The player can defeat the rider and mount the dinosaur himself. While riding a dinosaur, the player attacks by shooting fireballs. The goal is to collect 8 treasures and collect the letters that spell out the player character's name in order to proceed to the next stage. There is no time limit on how fast you are to do this, but the enemies just keep coming, trying to take you down. And this is where it is perceived to be a problem. Players are running around the level trying to survive, but they're having trouble finding the items to move on. In other words, they are progressing and supposedly not playing the game correctly. To solve this problem, a convoluted scoring scheme was created on Crimeycade where you had to manually count how many layers you collected. And whatever actual points you scored is only used in a tiebreaker in terms of score ranking. So if you scored 500,000 points, but only collected 15 letters, you were behind the person who collected 20 letters, but only scored 400,000 points. As a result, no one has put a score on it until very recently by a first-time visitor. Twin Galaxies does not track boomeranger scores this way. Because of this goofy system, the regulars at Galapagos Arcade just won't play for score. I certainly won't mess with it unless they put it on my challenge card and force me to play it. The designers of these games certainly didn't care as much about progression as they were more concerned about their games getting quarters. They certainly didn't know how big of an issue this would be decades later. I would rather deal with scoring points than deal with human rules like I have to stand on my head while playing it. If progression is such a big deal, why didn't they just do separate tracks for letter collection and scores instead of this bizarre marriage of the two and let the player decide which metric to play under? If points don't matter, then create a lowest score 1cc track or speedrun. And that is my editorial opinion for this week. Our guest for tonight, he is a producer, musician, a streamer, and a retro game competitor. He participated in the Game On Expo, placing in the top 8 for the Retro Gaming Championships, Super Star Fox Weekend, and Tekken 3. Our guest tonight, Cody Silva.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Can you hear me all right?
Yep, I can hear you just fine. Loud and clear.
It's a pleasure to be on the show, first and foremost. Thank you, guys. Thank you first for having me on here. I also want to say thank you to Rich Ambler, who actually got me on here privy to the show. Let me adjust my camera really quick. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I moved my camera too, and I'm just trying to look at it without, let's say, look. Now you're off screen.
Yeah,
maybe I'll just go back over here.
I made it worse. Okay.
Yeah, we're getting in the middle as best you can. But anyway.
Yeah. No, I just want to say thank you. First and foremost, for the opportunity to come here. I'm a big fan of yours, been a big fan of Rich, and so on and so forth. And it's pretty neat to be able to not only meet people like yourselves that I used to read about in the Nintendo Power Mags, or the little tiny pieces of archives that I could discover on YouTube, which are kind of few and far depending on how deep you go, which I'll come back to that because I do actually have a question for you about your prize and how that all occurred. I do have a question.
All right.
But yeah, I'm grateful. So as you said, I'm a professional producer and musician, full-time, also a full-time streamer on Kick. I used to be on Twitch at one point in time, which that is the only account I have left is the Real Fresh C. It's under my artist name.
Yeah.
So just to alleviate the confusion, and I'll get to that later. But I've been playing video games pretty much my entire life. my mother, rest in peace. When we were growing up, we grew up pretty hand to mouth, so pretty poor in California. But she worked at what was, before it became Blockbuster, Major Video. So she was able to bring, like the cases and the rental cases of consoles and any new game that came out. We were the poorest people on the block, but we had like the richest childhood in a sense with those kinds of things. And so that's kind of where the birth of the gaming portion came from. And then also music. Music was very predominant in my home. I grew up with a lot of older folks, hanging out with my grandparents. That's a couple generations back. They're in their 80s now. So, the Johnny Cash, the Merle Haggard, country, old country western, and then where I lived is primarily hip hop and rock. So you can kind of, what I'm trying to paint the picture just a little bit is just a young kid who was influenced by not only video gaming, but music and culture, all in just one huge pot, which eventually, later in life, saved my life and got me out of a lot of obscurities and bad situations. And I went on to do some really cool things, for people where I come from don't ever get to see. So similar to music and producing, gaming, I'm just as passionate about it. I am a rookie. Probably what you guys would call back then like a city chaser, because I'm fresh, so brand new. I know this much compared to what a lot of you champions all know and understand and been through and traveled through. But it's just like music. I've traveled the world. I've toured the world doing music as a profession, from being an opener, a nobody, to a headliner and going all over the country full time. So I can still understand. But yeah, I'm super excited to be here, man. This is very cool.
All right, so you have a question to me. You mentioned Nintendo Power. I was expecting to get my name in there, and they never put me in there. Thor got all the attention. I got nothing.
Yeah, and that's the thing is,
I don't know if I got Blaine Smith or Blaine Phelps to tell me why I didn't get into the Power when I had him on, but
because these were the discussions in my early childhood at school, right? So I had a friend that had the Nintendo Power magazine subscription. We had the friend with the Game Pro. We had the friend that had all the cassette tapes, and then we had the friend with all the CDs, and and the ones who had cable. And I'm probably showing my age to some of the people in chat, but these were big things in my time, especially if you didn't have any money. So at lunchtime is where you would find everything out, or the walk from school. Because to school was a little bit of a different story for me, but after school was a lot more calmed down. And that's where we would talk about Game Pro, the Nestor's Corner and Nintendo Power, championship games, what games were coming out that we could figure out. Then when Blockbuster took over for Major Video, I got to check out a lot of their early promotional stuff. So me and my friends used to go hang out at the video store. We used to be able to get almost like a overnight rental, more or less, kind of off the books kind of thing. So that's where I got to play a lot of NES games, the Fester Quests, the Solar Jetmans, the Mega Mans, which are my all-time favorite series, Simon's Quest, Castlevanias, SNES games, F-Zero, Mario Paint, like all those kind of early games that were pretty pricey at that time, $69.99, $79.99 in some cases, depending on what department store you had. That's where a lot of that birthed, and like a lot of the names. Unfortunately, I was too young for the Campus Challenge or Star Fox or any of the cool challenges that you guys all got to do, but I was definitely a fan, and so were a lot of my friends. And these were all things similar to how we would hold a Source magazine in the 90s, which used to be what we called the Hip Hop Bible. That's basically what a Nintendo Power or a Game Pro was in the same sense. So when you're reading Nestor's Corner and you're reading the banter and you're going back and forth, you're learning about what games allegedly sucked or what the editor didn't like, or the so-called secret editor guy, or the snipey comments about what games not to play. And then we would have sleepovers or grab 3-day rental at Blockbuster and have sleepovers and try to play and defeat these games. So it's just really interesting. Like I said, it's just really cool to be able to have conversations with you guys. Same thing with the Retro Championship, getting to meet Jay Merck, getting to meet Mega Retro Man, all these other people from different walks of life prior, and then also having a cool mentor like Rich Ambler to kind of show me that this is real.
Yeah, the retro tournaments have been hard to find lately. It's all been on Tetris, Mario Kart, pinball, or fighting games.
Yes.
Or, I don't know, maybe rhythm games as well. Dance Dance Resolution, although I haven't seen too many of those. Classic arcade, not too much.
Yeah, and that's another thing too, is I grew up in the arcade. Where I come from, I grew up in a place called Porterville in Central California. That's where I grew up pretty much my whole early livelihood. And we used to have an arcade that's no longer functioning, of course. It was called the Fun Zone. It was the most magnificent place. But again, going back to the 90s, food stamps and being poor wasn't very cool. But we always had that one friend. We traded pogs, we traded marbles, we traded video games, our moms and dads' old pagers. For those who don't know what a pager is, it was what phones pretty much are, or text messages now to the new world, the new gen.
Oh, the infamous pager attack.
Yes,
in the Middle East.
We used to trade those for money, and so money turned into tokens. And so that's where I got introduced to my favorite fighting game of all time, Street Fighter II World Warrior. I was instantly hooked. And Tekken 1 through first and second one, I got to play those in the arcade as well. And I became a really, really big fighting game fanatic, just because they're shorter games. It's easier to learn. You got to think I was maybe 6-7 years old, so grasping these games in the early 90s, it got to the point where at that time I'd gotten pretty decent to where my mom would be able to buy her Marlboro Light 100s. By the way, I don't condone anybody to smoke. It's terrible for you.
Yeah, tell me about it.
I used to smoke as well.
I can't stand other people smoke, which is why we have an indoor smoking ban in the state.
Yeah, and I used to smoke, guilty, but put that away years ago. But she would give me whatever change she had from buying her smokes. I would take that, get some tokens. I'd buy me a Crybaby, the little what are they, like, sweet sour candy. I'd buy some of those, some Warheads, and there was an adjacent card shop. And my friends used to have Beckett's. So for anybody in the chat who never had a Beckett, they're so awesome. Used to just price cards and swap cards at lunch table or wherever, hanging out. But the guy at the A&M Collectibles, we're just kids to him. We'd come over with some Deion Sanders cards, some Barry Sanders, some Joe Montana cards, and get a few bucks, have some change, go across the street to the Fun Zone, and we would be there all day. But we weren't the kids that were starting crap. We weren't starting problems, even though that's where we come from and that's our norm. That was the opposite for us. It was our peace. It's where kids from different neighborhoods didn't want to beat each other up. They didn't want to fight. They didn't want to steal your bike. Where I come from, shoes are a big thing. Shoes and starter jackets at that time. So if you weren't privy and you had a cool Georgetown or Chicago Bulls or any really cool starter jacket, you better know how to fight. And I was definitely one of those kids who fought. I didn't think anything of it. But I was also a very humble kid, and I appreciated anything I had. So I didn't want to start any problems. So we go to the arcade. We'd play the Tekkens, the Street Fighters. I used to join little tournaments there at the time. Rest in peace to the owner, Carl. He passed away before the arcade went defunct. After COVID, he just couldn't hold it. It was a wrap. And that was
What's the name of the arcade, by the way?
The Fun Zone. Yes, the Fun
Zone. Okay, I thought it was a different one. Okay, go ahead.
And it was located on Main Street in Porterville, California, is where it was located. I can't remember the exact address, but adjacent to it was the Porterville Theater, which is now defunct as well. They just tore it down. But anyways, that's pretty much where gaming kind of birthed to where I was like, oh, this is cool. You don't have to fight. Nobody's trying to rob you. I mean, after you get out, it's a different story. But when you're there, nobody's trying to rob you. Everybody from different neighborhoods and places, whether you're poor, rich, didn't matter what you look like, didn't matter what you're wearing, none of that. All that mattered is if you could game and if you had a level head and how many quarters you had on the cap. That was a huge thing that I had to learn first day out, is if you didn't have your quarters on the cap, you don't got a game next. That means you got to wait in line or your tokens or whatever for the next match. You might be sitting there or standing there for a while, because some of the older kids, you know, they're either ditching class and doing whatever and hogging up the game, you know? So you kind of
you had to initial your token too, probably, so I know whose token it is.
Yeah, you know, there's all those little cool things of you know, my childhood that really brought me close into gaming, but also the same with music, because I would go from there to the rap battles waiting for the bus, and that's where the hip hop and the artistry came into the picture full force. Is on the way back home, there's a barbershop, and it's the same principle. You know, kids from different places who would probably kill each other, but in that moment, it was all about the art and self-expression. So music was literally on one cross street, gaming was on the other cross street, and I always call it, how we always looked at it is, one step from heaven, knee deep in hell, is what we always called it, because you go to either one of those places and it's a safe zone, music and gaming. But anywhere else in between, you never know what you're gonna see. You know, dead bodies, prostitutes, drugs. You pretty much anything and everything you could see, it was there. You know.
Working for the Illinois State Police, I was privy to some horror stories and even experienced a few horror stories on the inside. But, you know.
Yeah, no.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I don't know if I was going to fire this one out. It's like, if a state trooper got in trouble, I'd hear about it first, because I was one who took their privileges away. The worst I can experience on the inside is the trooper loses his life and I get their equipment back. One of which had dried blood because all over the keyboard from a trooper who lost his life. Yeah. I don't know why I brought that up, but you talked about stuff you experience on the streets, and yes.
Yeah,
I get it from the other side, the horrors.
Yeah, and that's a parallel, because actually later in life, I became an EMT and a firefighter. So I got to see the other entire different side, from saving people from those situations and scenarios. So it's
first responder.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So it's quite a, I don't know, like I always say in any of these, I've lived a lot of life. I've done radio, I've done podcasts, streaming, rapping, I still do, you know, the gaming and stuff. But sticking more towards the gaming side of things, and I'll bounce around a little bit, but I wanted to at least give you something to bite off of, at least for some history wise, the music and the gaming stuff. But later in life, of course, I missed out on a lot of gaming stuff, unfortunately, because when I moved from California to Arizona to change my life, because I was knee deep in, I wasn't the drug kid. I didn't do drugs or anything like that. It wasn't my thing. But I was the kid that sold drugs, and I was the kid that was, you know, robbing people. Yeah, I was doing a lot of bad things, to the point to where my 8th grade year, which was 1998-99, I had a decision to make. Basically, I was on house arrest, which I'm sure now that you shared that, you know exactly what that is. House arrest. Yeah. And I had the monitor ankle bracelet on in 8th grade. I was 13 years old, with a stack of charges probably this big, and a height that nobody thought I was ever gonna climb over. And I had a really cool teacher, and this is something for anybody that's been through anything that's in chat. I was surrounded pretty much by doubt, things that none of the kids in my neighborhood ever made it out from. Myself, the other one is a professional UFC fighter. Shout out to Joe Soto. He was my neighbor. He lived on an adjacent street, literally like across the street from me. And he and I were totally from two different streets with totally different beliefs in a sense. And he was the guy that was like, man, Cody, like, you know, find something else to do. You're so smart. Cause I was always really privy to things. Like I did a lot of things back then. And let's just say a lot of it went off the record. It was only when I started to get careless and reckless that things started to really go south. And that's when I just figured out once my friends started dying, and to be straight brutally honest, once my best friend at that time passed away and I'm literally watching him pass, I was like, okay, Joe's right and some of my other friends are right. I don't want to, this isn't the path for me. What can I do? So of course, going back to the street, right? Like, okay, I got, my friend died. At the time, again, like rest in peace to my mom, but she had some demons she was fighting at the time. And those really messed it up for me in the house. My biological father wasn't there either. So it was kind of like sink or swim. What are you going to do? So every day I'm having my headphones on and I'm listening to, all kinds of music, not just hip hop, like Ozzy, Black Sabbath, Tupac, NWA. I had a very mixed palette, of course, Johnny Cash, Merle Haggard. I wasn't your typical kid, Green Day. I had all kinds of different tapes. And I'll never forget this. I had a conversation at the rap battle. I'd won my first rap battle technically. And they were like, how old are you? And I'm like thinking in my head, like, shoot, should I lie? Nah, I'm just going to tell them the truth. I'm like, I'm 12 years old. They're like, oh, you can't be in here. Like, you're not even of age, da 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 da. But I'm hanging out with these guys that are 2 times my age, high school kids. I'm smoking a cigarette. I got a pack of Marlboro Reds in my shirt pocket. I look just like all the other kids. And I took that and I won a few bucks, $10, which is nothing now. But at that time, I was like, oh, I can get some hot Cheetos. I can get something to drink. Whoa, I made a few dollars. So the light bulb went off in my head. Like, if I can make money doing this legally for the gift of gab, maybe I should try this. So every single day I had a friend that would walk with me every single day. He was an older kid. And we had meeting points because it was a long walk. Like back in my day, you used to have to walk 10 miles. It was about 3 miles, but it's similar to that. And we would walk and he would give me words. Here's this word. Here's this word. And he would say freestyle, do it a cappella, improv every single day to the point where it just became second nature. Every day I was rapping, writing, going back to the teacher. Now, when you get in trouble in the state of California, you get 2 options. And at this time, this is the 3-strike law. And the 3-strike law still applied to juveniles. It was actually 3 1/4. So sometimes 4. So once you're on probation, you usually get removed from your school and put you in an alternative school. Well, the situation with the gangs, and I was gang affiliated at the time. So to break yes, I'm just being fully transparent. So the story makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
My probation officer at the time, things just kept happening, rival gang members chasing me after school. And I wasn't one to back down whether I lost or not, been jumped. I've had my teeth knocked out. I've seen some things. So they knew I was with it and I wasn't afraid, but I was really trying to change my life. I'm rapping now. I'm making a name all over the street as the kid who raps and who raps well, but I also played games and I played games well. So my probation officer was like, give this kid a chance. Let's just put him in an alternative class, which saved my life. And I thank God every day for those people. So Mrs. Manis, she's still a teacher at Porterville High School, but she was only an assistant then. But at the time, she was our like an aide. Like she would walk us to lunch and stuff like that. So shout out to her. And then Chad Brown, who became a probation officer later in life, but his brother played for the Pittsburgh Pirates. So it was like it was really cool. We had like a cool teacher who fell upon the Dangerous Minds kids, like, you know, using that as a reference. There's 10 of us. Sadly, 6 of them are dead now in real time. And one of them's homeless, who I still keep in contact with because he was my best friend. You know, I don't judge anybody. I'm not here to judge anybody's past or present. And the other 2 just kind of disappeared. I don't know what happened to the rest of them. Anyway, so Chad Brown took over this class, and it was called Laser Class. I can't remember the acronym. We had a different start date. So school started for everybody else at 8:15. We started at 7:45. Kids got out at 3:15. We got out at 2:50. Our lunch was separate from everybody else as well. So we were segregated completely. Different class, different offshore, all that. But it saved my life, though, and I'll tell you why. Is if that hadn't happened, one, I wouldn't be on your podcast because I'm pretty sure I'd be dead or in prison. And that's not even skinning over it at all. I would have never made it this far. There's just no way. But also to putting that out there to the people, all you need sometimes, and this also will translate to gaming, I'll get to Rich Ambler and like the competition and all that as well, is sometimes you just need that one person just to push you and be like, hey, you got something there. It might be a pat on the back. It might be a high five. It might be a salute, a handshake, or just a cool comment. You never know. If those kinds of things didn't happen in my life, I wouldn't be here. So me going to that class separated me. I got my grades up. I got all my credits. I went to before school and after school, saved all my credits, and I was able to graduate. Because again, I was failing 7th grade. I was about to get suspended, expelled, put in an alternative school. If I would have went to an alternative school, it wouldn't have changed anything at all, ever. It would have made things 10 times worse because you're there with older kids who got kicked out of school who have way worse problems than you. And here I am, 12 going on 18 in my head. It would have just been a mess. So
that held me back.
Okay. And see, if I probably could have, I still, like I said, I you know, I'm a firm believer in God. Like, you know, I'm not ashamed to say it. Like, that was just an angel helped me do that because I shouldn't have. I had every reason to never make it from that part. You know, I graduated on stage, finished everything, and then I moved to Arizona. So this was 2000. So I was rapping, cleaned up my life, had to come to Arizona, and my whole stipulation with probation was like, all right, you'll go to your, high school in Arizona, but you have to make it 4 years without a probation violation. So the state of California thought, oh yeah, we're just going to hang this guy 4 years without a scratch. Yeah, right. Like none of these kids ever make it that far. And especially leaving the state. And so my grandparents, that's where they come into the picture. They took custody of me. I'd always went back and forth anyway, but they took custody of me, and man, talk about a tight ship. And I mean, old school, 50s and 60s style old school. You're in before 9, you're going to work, you're going to play sports. So that's when the competition side, like sharpening all these skills, the gaming and the rapping. So I sharpened my rapping skills on the back of the bus. I played football, basketball, baseball, and track all 4 years of high school. And then I also worked a full-time job from my sophomore to my senior year all the way up. So I was always doing stuff. So I sharpened my skills rapping in the back of the bus and making jokes and doing improv and sharpening those swords. But then gaming, that's when because I came to Arizona, I had my SNES with Super Mario World, of course. What was left of Mario Paint, but I didn't have the mouse. I don't know what happened to it. Batman, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, and maybe a Mortal Kombat. My NES, my NES, I don't know what happened to it. I lost everything else. And I had a little bit later, I got a PS2. Those are the only 2 consoles that somehow. Oh no, my PlayStation 1. I'm sorry, because I had Resident Evil. I had Resident Evil and Tekken. I'm sorry. So I had my PS1. So here comes the gaming thing. All my other friends were getting Xboxes, and I was still playing at that time with PS2, PS1, SNES. None of my friends were playing SNES. None of my friends were playing PS1. Everybody's like, dude, you got to get Xbox. You got to play Halo. And I'll be honest, I didn't even know what Halo was until I got out of school because I was so busy playing sports. And
I didn't buy the latest and greatest. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, no,
I stuck with Nintendo though, and Sega.
Yeah, and I love all of them. I missed that. I missed the GameCube. I didn't get to experience
I
that
got the
Dreamcast.
GameCube.
I have them now,
GameCube and the Wii.
way later in life. But yeah, so fast forwarding through everything, you have growing up, in the scenario in the impoverished area, growing up with the music and the gaming with my mom, that kind of thing, major video blockbuster, coming here, going to high school, all that kind of stuff, still playing sports, doing music, rapping, and then getting more into the gaming slowly but surely. And then I had a weird period where after I graduated and went to college for firefighting and started doing that, where things just kind of, I don't know, my 20s were really weird. There was a lot of rapping, but a lot of confusion. No gaming other than I played my PS2 quite often, but it kind of just went dead for a little while. I was so focused on building a family and growing up because I was, I guess, kind of pushed in a different direction. Like, you got to do this, you have to do this. And I fell into this weird, in my 20s, like just a weird space. I was drinking a lot, doing all the things that you do in your 20s, and I had no care in the world.
Okay,
30.
I gotta bring up something.
Yeah, go ahead.
I saw a post last week where some woman, I guess on Twitter or who knows where, or Blue Sky, claims that men who, if they're still playing video games into adulthood, they aren't sexy or whatever. I don't know if you saw that.
I see that a lot. There's the memes too. I disagree with it. What is chat? What do you guys think? What do you guys think about that one? I disagree.
Yeah,
How do you feel?
That was stupid. I think the post. Well, one, what is her hobby? And exactly. Would I be interested in her hobby at all? Two, is she a technology challenged person who wishes that we had manual typewriters and rotary phones again? Well, that's reserved for the elderly folks. Or at least that's the line I wanted to use in the 90s a whole lot, but I didn't even come up with it. So I would have whacked a few people older than me and just told them, hey, so you don't want to use one of these. These things drive you crazy and all this crap, and you can't work a computer. So nowadays it's like, I'm like having to fix all these computer problems. Like, people say, oh, I don't understand computers, blah, blah, blah. And then I asked them, well, do you want to go back to the rotary phone and manual typewriter? And it's like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I was like, that's too far back in time. Rotary phones don't exist anymore. They don't work on our phone system, but the manual typewriter, you had to wrestle with the ink ribbon and the paper, and you can't correct your mistakes, and you got to get out the correction fluid, and then it's messy. Anyway.
And I think it's funny that, I see those arguments a lot on Twitter, on Facebook, and that actually a little caveat, side quest here, which was actually going to be one of my questions, even in chat. So even asking chat as well, have anybody, yourself included, have you ever felt pressured by, I don't want to say pressured, that's probably the wrong word, but similar to what you said, like outed because you love to play video games? I share it all over the place. I don't care. Like, I love what I love, and if people don't like it, that's perfectly fine. You can agree to disagree. But there are times where people, oh, you play video games? That's so lame. Aren't you in your 40s?
Well, the counter to that is, I'm the Nintendo Campus Challenge National Champion, and I won a car out of that. So they kind of don't give me crap about playing video games because I won a car in a competition. So they didn't. So anyway.
No, and that
they can whine and cry about whatever. I don't care what they think, personally. Video games is my first love. I never got tired of it. Even with the crash of 84 that happened, I didn't stop playing. Things transitioned to home computers and the games on that for a while, and then transitioned back to the 8-bit console and then 16-bit consoles. I didn't get the latest and greatest. I kind of stopped at the Nintendo Wii. What did I have? I skipped the 64, so I skipped the 32-bit generation. So I pretty much stuck with the NES and the Genesis, and then got the GameCube for Christmas, and then got a Wii. But other game systems I kind of picked up at auction.
Oh yeah.
Doesn't mean I played them, and now I got a pile of consoles I need to start testing for before I go to a game convention next month. But I need to find power cords and then rig it up. Well, I did buy a 3DS. I guess that counts.
Oh, of course it counts.
Although I bought it simply so I could enter the Nintendo World Championships 2017. So, but then again, the whole daggum. Oh, and it was Mario Kart you had to play.
Oh, heck yeah.
But doggone everybody who got in the top whatever had to, I guess, go off-road or jump into lava because of some stupid glitch they had to exploit to get quicker times, which that wasn't going to work. I needed to play 2015, but that didn't happen because I was busy with something else when they came to Chicago and there's only 8 sites.
Yeah, and well. I feel like the interesting part about that, like, is I think for a lot of us, and I'm speaking for myself, but I see Mega Retro Man in here, my buddy Brian as well, and Jolt looks like, and I know Ben's my friend also. We all game, and yourself. If you're passionate about something, I don't really think any of us care, and similar to Mega Retro Man, the only difference is for me in some cases, it's a little bit different for me in some ways, because some people only know me as Back in the Game Retro, the new retro guy who streams on Kick and does this and that, blah, 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 whatever. But my fans who know Fresh C don't all know who Back in the Game Retro is, or any of that. So it kind of ends up being this really funny triage of things. Because I might, like, a great example, and I'll fast forward the story and get to the gaming stuff.
I'm going to call you Back in the Game Retro Fresh C altogether.
Yeah, because it was interesting, because the other day when you had your show, I was watching, and Hunter P was here, and he was there at the competition. I met him, and we became cool. And I was commenting in the comments, and he was talking about me. I'm like, it's me you're talking about. He's like, oh, it is you. And I'm like, yes, it's me. I'm Back in the Game Retro. But he's, oh, I get it now. So it's the same thing. Like Ben, he's been a fan of my music and has watched me do all of this for like the last 7 years. So he's been here since day one, because I started on Twitch. But I'll wrap up the other part of the story. After, growing up, kind of getting away from the games and stuff like that for a while, fast forward, I got really heavy into after my last tour. I stopped in Seattle, and then we did an all Arizona tour, and then COVID happened. So when COVID happened, 2020, a buddy of mine said, well, why don't you go to Twitch, start streaming on Twitch? So that's what I did. And that's when everything became very real for gaming. So I started playing games, built my collection. I have pretty much every console that I ever wanted as a kid. I play on original hardware as much as I possibly can, all that kind of stuff. And I had a situation on Twitch because I make these VHS mixtapes on my off time, and I literally compile 90s cartoons and commercials, and put my friends, like, Twitch commercials. I would have them create commercials, like for yourself, have your commercial 15-second MP4 format, put it in there, or David or Jolt or Make a Retro Man or Brian, and I'd be like, hey guys, send me a 15-second MP4 formatted MP4, and I'll put it in the show. And you would just literally get your own ad, but with my own twist. Well, Twitch didn't like that, so I ended up getting banned from Twitch, and all hell broke loose after that, because at the time Kick was still kind of, I don't even know where to begin. Kick
infancy.
Yes, infancy, still in beta.
Well, no, hang on. Twitch kicked you off because you played a video that you mixed together clips that were sent to you.
Well,
what were they claiming?
So this is where it gets funny. So I'm very privy to how licenses work. So like people used to always complain like, oh, Fresh, you're gonna get DCMA'd for having cartoons. I said no, because I pay for a blanket license. Anybody that knows about licensing, you can literally lease a license to air or play certain things just like you would music or production. I paid for all that out of my own pocket so I could do this. It wasn't about profit, it's just a passion project. Well, just so happened that Viacom, if I remember correctly, purchased outright one of the cartoons I was using. So the blanket license that I had from a Paramount didn't apply. So what happened is they took it up to a
without
huge
notification.
Yes. And so I was boom, instantly banned. I was live on stream and all of a sudden, boom, off. I got the strike thing and it was immediately terminated, the big red flag. Because there's different levels of it now, but basically permanently. I've been streaming for 5 years on Twitch. So here's where all the gaming comes full circle to competitive stuff, fast forwarding. And that's where I met Rich Ambler. Shout out to my brother Rich and Deactivated Styles. And those guys was on Kick. So myself, Ben, I don't see any, but Brian came later from Twitter, and I met Mega Retro Man at the tournament. So a lot of these other people that I met in the retro community, I just brought my people over. Thankfully, like I said, thank God, like that, my people were willing to come and hang out with me on Kick, because if not, the retro community, I don't know if anybody's hung around, but it's pretty different. You got a bunch of people that don't even play retro video games. You have 24/7 channels that play slop of your speed run or Make a Retro Man speed run or Rich Ambler's 1991, and they monetize it and it's not even their stuff, which pisses me off. And I get really agitated with that because I am a real diehard for originality and being true to yourself, but also playing these genuine games and playing them, like getting into it, having fun. Anyway, and I'm not tooting my horn because I'm nobody, but I'm one of the only people in that retro community that play on real hardware. I play competitive games. I try to give value to people and show them it, because some people are like, oh, I don't know how to get on Kick. I'll show you. This is what you do. I got J-Merc to come over there after, he and we talk on Twitter all the time. I got him to finally stream on Kick. He's one of the only champions other than Rich that streams on Kick.
So I've resisted going to Kick because who do I know that's on Kick right now? They're all on Twitch.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. And that's where a lot of pushback comes from. But Rich, J-Merc, they're both on there. So,
of course, I'm not streaming cartoons, so whatever. What do I know? I'm just playing games or doing interviews.
Yeah, and that's the thing, though, is I only play games. I have an offshore account that I do play cartoons, but all I do is play games. So I play, we'll make up a whole like itinerary. Hey, we're gonna do Tekken, or we're gonna do Star Fox playthroughs.
Yeah.
So that's how I met Rich. We were going to raid out. I only met one other person. Shout out to Commodore 64. He's a Facebook streamer, but he plays on. He's Scottish. He's super funny, super cool guy.
Yeah.
And he plays retro games. Other than him, I don't know anybody else other than the ones I mentioned. So I was going to raid somebody, and this profile with Nestor's Corner PNG, and I was like, Nestor. I was like, why do I know that? And I was looking at it, and I was like, oh, from Nintendo Power. And then I heard his voice, and I'm like, I know that voice. And so I was just lurking on his channel, and he started laughing. I was like, oh, that's Rich Ambler. No way. So I'm like just hanging out, and I told people in chat, I was like, dude, I think this is Rich Ambler's channel. So we raided. That's where I met Deactivated Styles. That's where I met Rich Ambler. And that's pretty much where the competitive gaming began, because I would watch him and Styles play, Camp's Challenge. They didn't play Star Fox until around the time before I started to get into the championship, into the game.
Yeah.
But they played NWC, 91 Campus Challenge. What other games? The Tetris, the Dr. Mario's, all that stuff. And I was just fly on the wall thinking like, wow, that's pretty neat, you know? And I can't quote, I wish he was here. I can't quote exactly, but I asked, like, what is this all about? Other than reading Nintendo Power magazine, you know, I'm only seeing from the screen. I'm not, you know, I don't want to assume. I don't know exactly what's going on. And he would just talk through the whole thing. Oh yeah, this is what I'm doing. And I'm like, dude, this is cool. Like, I want to do something like this. Like, you never know. I'll never forget it. We were traveling to California. I was watching his stream and I Googled it. I looked it up after that. I'll never forget it because we ate at some random Burger King and I don't really eat out. We stopped at Burger King. I Googled Retro Championships in Arizona. This was in December. I looked it up and I saw Game on Expo. So then I typed in chat and I was like, hey, do you guys know about this? Rich was like, yes, I know a little bit about it. I know who runs it. He didn't go into detail, but he was like, you know, yes, it's a real tournament. I was like, oh, all right. Well, guess what? I'm going to try this. So I ended up emailing Mike LaRossi and what's the other gentleman? I can't think of his name to save my life. I can see his face. He's the co-founder of the Game On Expo. Super cool guy. Very tall guy. Very tall guy.
Oh, gosh, I don't know either.
I know you guys, and somebody in chat will know. And forgive me, I only got
Paul
to meet him.
Tessie, who is it?
Yeah, Mega Retro Man.
You're in here.
What's his name? Because he's the co-founder. I could go to my email, but I know the chat would know.
Now I'm gonna have to start looking it up in a second. Anyway.
Also, hi, Lady X. So yeah,
I think he answered. No, he did not.
No, he didn't yet. No, not Dorian. No, not Dorian. I didn't get cool with him.
Not Winlock, okay.
No, not J Merc. Oh man.
Wow.
No, Hal's with the Retro World Series. I met him there. Anyways, I'll come back to that. But he's the gentleman that started the Game on Expo with Mike and Dorian. And so I got into an email with them asking questions and then got invited to the tournament. I was like, wow, this is awesome. I knew nothing about it. Never trained, didn't know squat, didn't know no Tetris stuff, didn't know no Dr. Mario stuff. I only knew Star Fox because of Jeff Falco. I'd always known about him because I'd studied him as a kid. Like I just knew of him, knew about him. I knew about Rich as a kid. I knew about Dorian slightly. I knew about you slightly. But I did not know about Mike. Mike was, even though I should have known about Mike, also I didn't know about him until later. So anyways, yes, John. Yes.
All
John.
right, we got it.
Thank you. Sorry, John. My bad. So I entered in the tournament. This was in the end of December. So January, February, March. I had less than maybe 6 to 7 weeks to train. Rich gave me a few chunks of things to read, to look up, things like that. But that was pretty much for NWC, which was a lot to digest in such a little time. But I still feel we did an excellent job for the little bit of time that I had to learn. And that, and then his schedule, how can I say, is a little bit different than most because of his situation, and I'll leave that there. So any chance I got to speak with him was very short, and I had to just figure it out as quick as I could. So I put those pieces together, and I just started grinding on Star Fox all by myself. And so I told my chat, which David, who's in here, and Lady X, who's in here, I would stream Star Fox for like 4 to 5 hour streams every single day. And I started off in the 80s. This is bad. In the 80s in December. And as of today, which was cool, Mega Retro Man was actually there. I beat my PB today that I got at the Game on Expo. And so I was just trucking it on there. And I didn't watch anybody's stuff. Like I didn't study anybody else's content for Star Fox. The one thing that I wanted to respectfully learn on my own is I was like, okay, Rich is helping me with all this other stuff that there's no way in hell I would have learned. There's like props to Rich. Thank you so much, Rich. I don't know if you're around or what, but he gave me a lot of game and taught me a lot of things that there's no way in hell I would have ever learned, period, for NWC specifically. But Star Fox, I was pretty much on my own. And I looked up, the only thing I did look up is Jeff Falco's stuff, but there's like nothing other than his original score, 0. So I was like, well, I got to figure it out. And so I would just train and lose and crash and burn and wreck until I finally built up a score that I felt like, okay. So I told chat, I was explaining to them, I said, if I get and I think it was a 120 score that I would buy, Stone Age Gamers, where is it at? Somewhere in here. The 8-bit box where you can put the let me grab it.
Just so let me put slow layout. Let's take a look at the room there. You got that 1940 at Capcom cabinet there.
I told myself that, or told chat that if I got the right score, that I would purchase the EverDrive Nate Pro, because that's what Rich Ambler told me to get, so I could put these ROMs on there to basically to practice, because I was only practicing on ROMs at that point and just playing the actual games. So, and it's a pretty penny. It's about $300 and some change after tax. So it's not cheap.
Yeah.
So I invested in it. So I told chat and them, I said, once I get this score where I feel I could even compete, because Rich, I'll be honest, Rich was right out the gate like, hey man, I believe in you, but you've only had this much opportunity to train. We haven't had a lot of time, and you're fighting against some warriors in the calmest way ever. And that's when I learned later about a little more about Mike, a little more about Mega Retro Man, and all the other competitors, and you know how great all these guys were. And I'm like, okay, so I'm very much Little Mac in Mike Tyson's Punch Out, punching up way above my weight, you know, like,
right.
And I was just appreciative. It goes back to that factor I was saying earlier, where had Rich just said, hey, Cody, like, dude, you're not going to make it, bro. Like, give it up. You know, you're going against all these world record holders. Like, it's never going to happen. If he would have said something like that.
You got to target the low hanging fruit first. That's pretty much what you have to do. And I target low hanging fruit all the time.
You know, but I'm just saying, like, if he could have turned that into a different direction, maybe I wouldn't have went, because who's better to know than somebody who's already been through the trenches, you know? So he didn't. He said, you know what? I think you can have a good shot. And I said, all right. And I took that and I ran with it. I ended up getting in the top 8. I took 3rd place in Star Fox, which I'm playing on that cart. But again, going back to it, I'm grateful for the stuff that Rich taught me. But I also wanted something of my own that nobody taught me. That's why I didn't study, because he told me, he was like, you know, Mega Retro Man. There was another gentleman who had, prior to Mega Retro Man defeating that score, there was somebody else on that bracket on Twin Galaxies, and I can't think of their name. One of them couldn't prove it, allegedly. So there's that, and then there's somebody else's score, and I think it was a Mega also, another great player. Forgive me because I don't know this person.
Okay, wait. Which game?
Star Fox. Yes.
Who targeted James Sorey?
I don't remember.
Nightmare James Sorey?
I don't remember who was up there, but I looked at the bracket and I looked at the scores and I'm thinking, holy crap, for me to even crack into there, I have to get.
Well, there's Packy, there's Checky, and Nightmare James was in there.
Well, me and Packy went head to head. Here's how that went. Going back to that, I actually beat Packy for a small amount of time. It was Mega Retro Man and myself in number 1 and number 2. And Packy came right over from Tetris and waddled himself over and knocked me right back down to 3rd. But
actually, I got footage, so I might as well just start playing it.
Yeah, okay.
But I need this on the other. Move this to the other screen. I haven't been able to get a real question in edgewise. So this would have been asked kind of off the bat. What was the first video game you ever touched, arcade or console, when you were a kid?
That's kind of it's a tie because I remember playing Solar Jetman and being completely lost. I was very
That was the
lost.
first game that you ever played?
Oh, for the NES, yes. The first game that I actually played was probably Pac-Man on Atari 2600.
Okay.
Yeah, that
first one you've ever touched. But what was the game that really hooked you?
Mega Man 2.
Mega Man 2 got you really hooked you into video gaming. All right. Yes. There we go. that was the best. That had to be learned here. So this is footage, and this is going to be the Star Fox finale here. I see 100p, 1UP Retro, I believe it's you. Nope, you're in 7th. Oh, yeah, gosh, this is the whole ball of wax. You're in 7th place. James Horhy was knocked out. Mega Retro Man kind of just cleared the board except for Parafest.
Yeah.
Just dominated.
Yeah, he did all the way across the board pretty much. What happened there too is I fumbled. Here's two things I want to bring up on this that I was not aware of and I misunderstood. This is a great teaching point. So on Campus Challenge, I was unaware that or which one, I'm sorry, because I haven't revisited them since the competition.
91 is the one I did, and that's for the NES with
that has
Super
Pinbot.
Mario. Yes, Pinbot.
Okay, so the one that has Dr. Mario in it, I was going by. Okay, I was going by the old rules that you had to actually go to Dr. Mario, make patterns to continue to get your score. There were some people who skipped that and stayed on Mario the whole time. I didn't. I went and I attempted.
You have to score a point in all 3 games for it to count.
Right, and I failed. I failed on Dr. Mario, and it came crashing on my 3rd or 4th pattern. I crashed it, and you can't continue forward. But there were a couple other players.
Okay, so you topped out.
Yes, I topped out. But there were if I would have stayed in Mario like a couple other players did and just racked up my 3 million, 4 million there, I would have probably stayed in 5th or 4th place just on that game because I did great at Powerfest. That was the first time I ever played it, and I did decent. I did pretty well. I never played that game prior to that because there's no way to play it. I don't.
Now, the real Powerfest, you also had to play all 3 games. I don't know if you had the version where the home runs were multiplied by 10,000 or a million.
A million.
Per foot. Okay. So, yeah, you had to speed run the first 2 games to get the home run derby.
Yeah, F-Zero.
Mario. Campus Challenge. Yeah, I'm not good at Dr. Mario, or at least I have not invested the time to memorize all the boards like Paul Tessie did to clear all the levels and get the perfect layout for a combo. So I stayed in Mario 3. I didn't spam the turtles because I don't think nobody spammed the turtles back then. If I figured that out, maybe I would have been the only one doing it, but everybody spammed the Goombas, which the scoring was slower, but kind of safer. My personal best was like 2.6 million. Doing it that way. If I spam the turtles, I could get about 5 million. Although that kind of...
Yeah, that was a tough
That blew me up against one 8-bit Brody because I did a one-on-one with him. He's not a good video gamer. He prefers Mega Man. He only got a paltry 200,000. Well, I screwed up and could not get out of Pinbot quick enough and ran out of time. It's like I missed a skill shot, and then it was taking much longer to get the 100,000 in Pinbot, and then time ran out, and I got DQ'd, and he got an unexpected victory, which I got roasted in his video over that. Oh, well. Yeah, a rematch later, but
that was a tough competition and a lot of learning. Like I said, if I would have played it safe, which I didn't, and I have to thank Rich for that, because Rich flat out told me, like, hey man, like if you're gonna practice these patterns, don't cheese out. Don't stay. He's flat out. I quote him on that. He's like, don't cheese out.
There is a trap early.
Yeah. Yeah.
Couple of boards in, there is a trap because you're kind of stacking them to the top in a diagonal, and if you miss the rotation,
that's the one.
It's over.
I missed the flip. I missed the what was it, yellow to yellow flip when it's literally up in that corner and you have to doop, 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 2 times to flip it and it's good, and I missed it, and that was it. But had I not done that, then it would have been a different game. But again, staying on the same path, I wanted to 100% come home with something. So I told myself, I said, I know I can do Star Fox. I don't care who I'm up against, because I knew all these guys were great. And I knew every single player there had already crushed it long before me. And I had everything to prove and nothing to lose. So that's the attitude I went. And I kid you not, I stayed on that stage the whole time. The whole time. I spent hours on that stage over and over and over. I was not going to leave with nothing. I just already kind of knew, like I'd watched Hunter, I'd saw Mega Retro Man, Checky, One Up Retro, Bro, all these other guys go, and I'm like, okay. Not saying that I couldn't do it, but I was just like 6 weeks. I just had it in my head. I'm like 6 weeks. I'm not too sure I can do that. I'm not too sure I can get into the third place, but I knew I can go into and get at least third place on my first run in Star Fox. I knew it. So that's what I bet all my chips, and that's what I did. Now I was briefly second place and beat Packy. Like I said, he came over from Tetris and walked over, and then he came and knocked me back down to third. But when I tell you, Mega Retro Man held first the whole time, to my recollection. Myself and Packy went back and forth on second that time, and that first through third stayed the same for the whole weekend. Mega Retro Man had all the way across. Packy, myself, I think Checky was right below me, or Hunter. One of those two gentlemen were right on my neck, but I held it. And then at the same time, when I would take breaks, I would go next door, and I competed in the Retro World Series with Hal. And I ended up being in the semifinals over there on my first run and did really well. Got invited to go to Vegas, and it just didn't work out because that time was just really weird. Things were just ridiculously expensive for Evo. But
what year was that?
This year.
Oh, the 26. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I don't fly, by the way, so I wouldn't have made it down to Phoenix anyway.
Yeah, so that whole thing was very going back to it. First off, I didn't know anybody there. You know, like I knew nobody. I didn't know any of these guys. And I wasn't really sure what to expect either. So I was really nervous. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I was so nervous just because like I said, the competition was, it wasn't like these guys just woke up and started playing the game like I did. These guys have been playing. Yeah. But I wanted it that bad, and I still want it. I can't wait to go back and showcase my skills off stream that I've been practicing on that I don't show, because I'm really competitive, number one, but number two, I love video gaming. And lastly, I'm grateful, and I made a lot of cool, I would say, friends now, like Hunter. Like, we competed against each other, and we're always on each other's Facebook. Bobby, who was another person in his group of people. Now getting to know Mega Retro Man a little bit more than before. Like, he was literally on the kick stream earlier, Facebook and stuff like that. I noticed that in some ways it's similar to music. Like, I'm gonna make that same reference. Like, music is very competitive, but very rarely does everything ever get cool in a weird way. So I kind of had that standoffish feel towards everybody because I come from a different environment until I finally, I think when Dorian and I, on Twitter, like, we had a conversation on Twitter, and same thing with Kick a few times. And I was really grateful for the words that he said and the encouragement. Same thing with Rich. everybody that I met ended up being really cool. And I finally got to just kind of breathe. It's a different community and I really enjoy it. Same thing with the Tekken guys, man. I really had a blast meeting those gentlemen over there, Hal and everybody at the Retro World Series. They were really, really great to me. Appreciate those guys. But I tell you what, the competition was, I wouldn't suggest anybody doing what I did. I'll say that much because I kind of just do what I normally do and I just jumped right in. Like, all right, cool. Let's make some way.
I would not have been able to hang with them guys.
And I think
because one, not practiced up on anything. Two, I already have my title, so my legacy is secure, so I'm not worried about. But I'd still like to get another championship belt around my waist. And Walt Disney got a championship belt around his waist. He may not have gotten a championship belt around his waist when he was a wrestler, and he wants us all to forget that. But he's got a belt now.
And that's the cool thing is, like I said, I learned so much from everybody. Like just again, I had like having the conversation with Mike LaRossi, which I learned a lot more about him later, but he was super helpful. After the competition, we had a conversation. Said some very kind words to me, and then told me, hey, add me on Discord if there's ever anything you need. Stuff practice. Let me know.
He had a tag title. All right, I didn't know that. I didn't know if he. So he did have one championship to his credit. Okay, as a wrestler. Go ahead.
Oh no, that's fine, and that's news to me. I didn't know that. That's cool. So that's something new I'm learning as well. But no, like I said, everybody was awesome. I think the guys did a great job. Big shout out to Dorian, to Mike, to John for throwing a competition like that. Hal at the Retro World Series, because that was just another thing that for me changed my life in a different way, and I'm very grateful. And I look at it like, wow, I really went in there with the best of the best. And I don't say that loosely. I really think currently and right now, today, these are the best of the best players, and they were all there. Everybody, all from past and current. So there was you weren't there. There's a few people. Rich wasn't there. There's other champions that weren't there.
But Rich could not go for personal reasons. Well, family reasons right now, but. I had Skim on my pod, thank goodness, with all the stuff going on at home. But anyway.
But yeah, and that's one of those things where, like, I'm just grateful for the experience, and I can't wait to go. I'm gonna compete in future tournaments around the world. It's just one of those things of me getting some more experience digging in different avenues. But this is something that I definitely want to continue doing, and I will continue doing. And I'm grateful. Like I said, I'm appreciative to meet all these people, and again, like against all these great players. Now it's cool because I see like their Twitter posts. Like I saw Mega Retro Man got close to a new PB. I might misquote, but I just randomly saw that earlier. Hunter just got a new PB. Like all these guys I competed against, even including myself, like everybody's improving their game. Like and to put that into perspective as well is I'm also working on creating and helping front a league for guys like us that are playing, whether you're past or present. So I've been having conversations with different esports people around different companies. So I have the backing of Club, which is a sister company of Kick as well. Some of these corporations that are willing to sponsor gamers like myself or champions like Make a Retro Man.
I wish I could get a sponsor.
Well, the more of us that keep talking about it and get it out there, the more opportunities it will create. I'm just again, going back to the old roots, I'm a hustler. So I'll spend.
I don't hustle.
Oh, I'm not saying you don't. I'm saying
I'm an agent. Basically, I can't even get booked on other people's podcasts. I'm out here.
We got
what in the world? And it's like, well, Rich Ambler's turned down 4 requests for podcasts. I'm like, have them book me instead. I'm willing to go. I got a title I got championship credentials on me. It's like I'm also Galloping Ghost former gamer of the year.
Well,
I
check
got
this out.
won 4 of their titles.
I want to return the favor because which I'm announcing here, and shout out to Mega Retro Man, said he hadn't mentioned it, but he did break his 187K from RWC, so that's
Okay.
definitely good. GG on that. Is I'm opening my podcast again. I would love to have you as a guest. Same thing with Rich. Same thing with Dorian. I already have him down. Rich I already have down. So if you're more than welcome, I would love to have you as a guest on my show.
Let's do it.
So
I'll jump at it. Yeah, let's go for it.
We'll dig deep because I, again, like going back to it, I have tons of questions now. And I'm gonna let it ride because I know you said a little bit just for me to kind of put more out there, so you could learn about me a little bit, which I feel I have. And feel free to ask me whatever you want, but I have one question for you. Did they actually give you, I know you got the card, but did they actually go through with giving you the 10 grand as well for the prize? Or was it a choose between?
No.
Okay, I was always
grand
wondering.
Prize was the car. There was no money. The cash prizes were for second, third, fourth, fifth, and then sixth place was a Super Nintendo console.
Okay.
So if I choked in the final round, I could have taken home about, I think, $2,500.
Okay.
But I'm happy with the car. So because that got me a trophy too, and the title, and I'm Thor Eckerlund's successor. I'm Michael Rossi's predecessor. So my place is secure. But I never claimed to be the world's greatest gamer. I'm not at Thor Eckerlund's level, and I'm not at Mike Rossi's level. I broke through at just the right time. I did my best game when it really, really mattered, and others had not so good games. And it's like, I was in third place the first 2 rounds. The 2 guys that were in front of me both choked and fell in round 3, fell behind. And so somebody else got through, and I got through. And we battled a gentleman from Central Michigan University, broke through. And I don't know if I can ever find him, because I'd like to invite him to have a little podcast. I actually wanted to have a few. I actually went looking for some of the competitors from NWC who went to Florida.
That would be cool to have.
Like, say, a round table, but I only found a few of them, and they weren't in the. They didn't get in the top 12 or the top 6. Well, they didn't get in the top 12. Let's put it that way. But they enjoyed the experience for what they had. It is what it is. I do want to interview Thor.
That would be great.
I tried to go meet him in Dallas, Texas in 2018. He couldn't get away from work. Back to all my original plans, just had to go to plan B because I was going down there to do a panel on Nintendo Championships and be the very first time that the 90 and the 91 were in the same room together.
Dang.
I still want to meet Thor. And now it's like, now Thor's kind of ghosted me. It's like I've tried to get him on my pod and just have our first real meetup, even though it's like on a screen, but it's still an interactive video chat. So
what's kind of interesting is I feel like out of all the champions that I've studied, past or present, you being one, Rich being another, Thor, Jeff Falco, Dorian, Mike, I feel like Jeff Falco and Thor have like not like you can't find anything. Like you find little tiny, maybe somebody saw them somewhere 8 years ago or at a random thing or previous VHS dubs that I guess like the winners got around that time, like the promotional stuff that people put to the internet.
Yeah.
Or like the famous there's a home video out there that's super awesome that I watch often. You're in it.
Tetris Masters.
Well, yeah, Tetris Masters. Somebody just uploaded one. It must have been a parent from the tornadoes. Somebody's parent, because they had all home footage. Had Mike, it had Dorian in it. Quite a few people. This is randomly I just found. Anyways, it's hard to find
Oh
either one of those
yeah,
guys on anything.
92. That's the 92
Yeah,
championships.
and
No, incorrect. It's 94. Sorry.
yes. Yeah. No, and I understand that too. I can understand that part. It's just like doing my research as a like I always like to look up, especially after the fact. Just like touring and stuff, I always like to look up and understand what I'm up against or what was there before. Always learning and learning and learning. And those are two people I just didn't find anything on, like absolutely nothing, other than what everybody knows for the most part.
You know what we're trying to find? The winner of the Sega Genesis College Championships, 1990. He has disappeared off the face of the earth.
Who? Because I only know of the Rock the House, right? Rock.
I don't know that one.
Chris Tang.
Yes.
He's the only one that I was aware of as far as Sega. There's another one?
They inducted, yes, Chris Tang's one of them.
Yeah, I know
They
Chris.
inducted a couple in the International Video Game Hall of Fame last year. And there were Sega tournaments that I'd never even heard of and I wish I knew the existence of because I would have entered if I knew about them. But I didn't hear about them, so I didn't get to enter. And at least I would have liked to have had the option. Oh, it's Blockbuster. That's why.
That's exactly right. Because I remember seeing those cards. You randomly find those cards a lot more often than you see NWC cards.
NBA Jam and doggone Judge Dredd.
Yeah, which is the most random game. Like, what the?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's so strange.
I know why Thor keeps to himself. I'm kind of a bit of a tragic story there, but I still would like to meet him anyway because, I'm in his shadow. I understand what he went through, or have a good idea of what he went through, and but he's a retired gamer, and I respect that because we got a whole new generation of Tetris players. Obviously, Blue Scooty is the one who's managed to break Tetris or crash it by trying to play through all 255 waves of the game.
That is so
yeah, and the kill screen is supposed to be like level 30 or level 29. But
yeah, no.
Anyway,
very, very interesting.
So I have a question. So
sure.
Let's get to the music side of this.
Okay.
You kind of gravitated toward. You listened to all sorts of music, but you gravitated towards hip hop in creation.
Yes.
So why hip hop in particular over all other genres of music?
Just because of my environment. So, for instance, my environment was pretty much everything that I was hearing. So it was more hip hop influence. Like when I looked out my window, the things that I was hearing in hip hop was basically the journalism, like the newspaper for what I was living. So it was like, back in those times, people watched the news. So hip hop to me was outside journalism of everything I was seeing. So I'm like, wow, if artists like Too Short or Ice Cube, Ice-T, Melly Mel, Rakim, all these greats, KRS-One, all these legends at that time are talking about things that I see every day, then I'm good at this too because this is what I'm living. So I'd rather do this than get shot and get killed or end up in prison. So that's...
Although those rap artists like Tupac Shakur,
yes.
Who else? Somebody else.
Biggie Smalls.
Okay.
Notorious B.I.G. Those are two of the most prominent in the 90s that rap-related deaths.
Yeah, there was like record labels that were like having feuds.
Oh, yeah. East Coast, West
Blood
Coast.
feuds. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah, that was
Anyway.
a real thing. For sure.
Anyway, go ahead and continue.
Yeah, so that pretty much just showed me the gift of gab, and that's the direction. Because I loved rock, and to be honest, I started playing the drums, but it was too pricey. We couldn't afford it because in those times you had to buy a Remo pad. What's called a Remo pad, for those who know, it's basically a practice drum pad for class, and then 2B drumsticks. And we were so poor we couldn't even afford that. Like I had a hand-me-down Remo. The teacher hooked me up with some 2B sticks because she thought I had talent, and then you had to buy the book, and I just couldn't. We couldn't afford it to continue. So
couldn't buy it used either.
No, definitely not. And those were things, as bad as I hate to say it, those were things too big for me to steal. So it wasn't like, if they see a kid like me going into a music store, odds are you knew what I was up to, and I probably didn't have money to buy it. So it was just out. It was Jam Master Jay was also another one for sure. But yeah, because if not, I really think I would have had a band because I had a lot to say and I was always energetic. I'd have I'd throw little rap concerts at lunch. Like I was the kid that would jump on the table and loud in class. I had something smart ass to say about everything. Like I was just really witty, but I had a lot to say. So I couldn't afford to make beats at that time, which I think which I am now, like prominent in, but couldn't afford it till later. I think I would have been greater faster had I been able to afford beat production materials back then. I think I would have probably did that more so than rap. But rap was easier to get into. You can do your thing, freestyle rap in front of anybody, improv, and people respected it. So yeah, that's pretty much how that all came about.
Now, looking at your YouTube channels, and I've kind of flashed those addresses on here a few times. Oh, yeah. Says you collaborated with some of the game companies. And yes. I was just kind of curious how you collaborated, and was any of your music tracks used in actual games?
Yes, so sync licensing. So sync licensing, for those who don't know, you put your music into a music library. So a good one is like Taxi, which is an older sync licensing company. But basically, and I'll try to break it down simple without getting too technical. When you create a song, there's two parts to it. There's a master and a composition. Now, if you going to put music in sync licensing, this is where it gets really strange. You can't copyright the song. Technically, yes, you made it. You own the master, that kind of thing, the poor man's master. But you kind of have to relinquish to give them that. So you put it in a sync license, either an agent or a spokesperson or email. There's all kinds of different ways of communication. You drop your instrumental or your song into there, and Sony might pick it up and be like, hey, Fresh C, we like your rap song Crisis. We want to put it in a Tekken 6 trailer. Here's what our splits are. This is what the royalties are, yada, yada, yada. Basically, your splits, your split sheets, those kinds of things. Or beat production, more commercials, trailers, streamers, those kinds of things. So yes, so Sega, so like the Sega Minis, like the revised video games that they republished and re-put out, I have underlining compositions in those various games, trailers. What was the event that they just happened this summer? Oh, I suck at
Combo Breaker.
No.
Or Sonic.
Well, one of the Sonics, but they just debuted it on the summer expo. It's literally like the show. They just show all the new games that are coming out. It just happened.
Oh gosh. Well, Combo Breaker happened. That was for all fighting games, but
no, it wasn't that. It was
it's not that award show, was it?
Oh shoot, this is on. I'm gonna have to literally like go to my email.
I kind of think it's the Video Game Awards show, but that was like much earlier in the year.
Let's see,
not the MTV Music Awards, but the Video Game Awards.
Summer Game Fest.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. The one from June 5th. So, yeah, so
dang, I missed out on that one.
Yeah, and I caught the end of it from somebody watching it on Twitch. So sync licensing basically gets you these opportunities to work with companies from all over, from Nintendo, PlayStation, Sega, and they basically just pick your song from a library and
Mhm.
then they send you a contract. A lot of that, unfortunately, is an NDA. So there's some things I can't specifically speak on, but I can say this much: there's 2 games that are coming out this year that are franchised that everybody's well aware of these games. You mentioned one of them, and I have the underlining compositions for 2 of the characters in this game. It's just I can't say anything about it until the game's actually out for purchase. So
Fighting game or
no, platforming game.
oh boy.
Yeah, you
It's
said it.
not Sonic.
Loosely Sonic based. Yes,
Loosely Sonic.
Sonic's in it.
Okay.
Yeah, Sonic's in it.
Oh, Super Sonic. It's a Sonic racing game, perhaps.
Perhaps.
Okay.
Perhaps. So there's underlining compositions. Now, for those who know me as Fresh C is the rapping stuff. So people might look up Fresh C if they Googled, and you'll see a whole different thing of stuff, interviews, tours, videos. If you look up Back in the Game Retro, you'll see different content, different things. But if you look up Quixotic, which I'll type it because it's a mouthful. If you type in Quixotic and you Google it, it's very niche specific. You'll Quixotic beats, you'll see beats, different songs, specifically in movies. So a lot of people listen to my music for movies. So Blood In, Blood Out.
Sonic. Well, I got that banner up here, so
Yeah. And so that's where my claim to fame came from as far as producing was the Vatos Locos Ese is the beat, but Blood In, Blood Out is the movie. That blew me up. I've gotten so many different contracts from that one beat I made 6 years ago. And so for people who don't quite understand music, to simplify it, music again has 2 portions of it. So your master and your composition. Since I produced the beat, I wrote the music, I performed the music, all my stuff, I own 100% of it. So the retribution that I get back from beats and songs like that are forever in perpetuity, number 1. And number 2, I can license them to anybody in the world. So if you wanted to use my music, all you got to say is, hey, Fresh, like, hey, man, I like this beat that you made on blah, 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 blah. I want to play games to it. Is it cool? I'll write you a little deal saying, hey, mad conservative crime fighter, you can use my music, da-da-da, boom. You don't owe me anything. You don't have to pay me anything. Here it is. That way, if you get DMCA, which will happen in certain cases, if you play my music because it's copyrighted, then it just gets waived and you don't get flagged and XYZ. So when you own 2 parts,
why I play video game tracks on this. That's for the countdown, but download some OST and then play it. But
that the other part of that too is I try to teach other kids, which took me through a bad situation with a manager who basically took my first hit song and took 50% of my publishing without my recognition. That's when I learned about publishing, royalties, all that stuff. So people just think Spotify, people just think Pandora, Apple Music. That's so far off. That's only one little piece of the pie. That's literally nothing. The mechanical royalties. But what's really important is publishing a copyright. So the publishing, copyright, and the underlining composition, as long as you own those, you're golden. If you don't, or you don't understand what that is, you're in deep shit, because that leaves you susceptible, especially with AI right now is a madhouse, because they're teaching these they're training these robots after your music. Now the good thing is for my stuff, thankfully, I'm not that high up there to matter the way I look at it, but I'm not low enough to not pay attention to. I'm in that cool independent middle gray area where I make a good living off my music, but I'm not a millionaire. I'm not a Drake or those top 3%, but I make a great living. So they don't care about me. They want the bottom and they want the top. The middle is pretty much safe, as much as I'd like to say it isn't, it is. But owning your stuff is like protecting your trophy. It's like protecting your championship. It's like your life insurance policy. Now, without getting too deep into all that, I own all that. But again, I learned through a terrible manager who took everything from me right out the gate. And I just had to learn about the music business. So, because people ask, well, how do you do this? How do you do that? Same thing with how do you get into the sync licensing? How do you get into that? Man, I read anybody that's interested in music. There's a book by Donald Passman called How to Succeed in the Music Business. Read it. There's 2 revisions, and it's by a lawyer, a music lawyer. So I mean, it's the law is in there. The law is the law, especially when it comes to music and copyright. It's the same thing with video games, same shit. So Donald Passman, great book. There's also a gentleman by the name of Ari who runs a podcast called Ari's Take. Great gentleman for music. There's a producer, multi-platinum producer who I have songs with out of Wisconsin, Wisconsin, called named DJ Payne One. He's a great asset for production and copyright. Damian Ritter, another person. So these are people like the forefathers of helping me to protect my music. So it goes deep. It goes so deep. It's very difficult to navigate in the music scene and stay protected and also make money from, because streaming on Spotify is pennies. I hate to say it, but it's 0.00% of a penny. So it's like 0.001 of 1 penny per stream that you listen to. So if I didn't own my publishing, didn't own my copyright, my publishing administrator, which gets your music royalties from outside the country, you'd be getting $50 checks versus $5,000 or $6,000 checks. It's a huge difference. So yeah, I know I went a little deep on that, but it's good for anybody to know if they ever want to look stuff up and for their music career, if that's what they're trying to do or
Billy
learn.
Joel is another story where he had a bad manager and then I guess hid out somewhere at a piano bar, and that's where song Piano Man kind of was inspired by that situation. Y'all remember that one? I know I squawk at YouTube all the time because of the content ID crap.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know if you're a wrestling fan or not, but before this podcast, I did a weekly public access show, and wrestlers would come into whatever track was popular or matched up with them. And of course, YouTube flags everything. It's like,
oh yeah,
it's like, hey, I'm not gonna censor the music. It's playing in the arena. It's like, and plus, I'm not gonna jump through all these stupid hoops just for this ad revenue sharing. And plus, their doggone setup was ridiculous. Had way more hoops than everybody else, and so it's like I was late taking the show to YouTube. I was doing it on other platforms where they weren't so restrictive. I don't have monetization enabled on YouTube at all. Twitch is the only thing I get monetization on.
That's part of it though. So for instance, like even though you're using it in your own way innocently, not everybody does that, and that's why there are content ID. That's a huge part of it. That definitely goes back to the whole monetization and copywriting and things like that, which is very interesting. Like I said, you could go very deep into it, to the dark abyss, and get lost. I've done it plenty of times to get better at my craft and learn the business, because you don't have, and this is going to sound asinine, you don't have to be great at making music now. You just have to be great at marketing and knowing the music business. You'll be just fine. It's a different game where I'm so true to the art. I'm painstakingly upset at times when records don't do as well as they should versus the next guy who I'm just going to say whatever, make some cookie cutter crap and throw it out there, and they'll get 50,000 streams before I hit my 20. It's a different game. They
won't break the top 100.
Oh no, and that's the other thing.
Most of the time.
And if they do, you also can always gauge an artist, especially when they're hot, if they can sell tickets to tour. I sold tickets to tour, so that proved all that I needed to have for what I have. So if their numbers are huge or inflated, they can't tour.
Although this one Canadian band always got flagged for or they always complained that their music sucked, even though they were like a top-selling band. Oh gosh, what was the band? And now I forgot what it was. Damn it!
Don't you hate that?
They played this. They did the theme for Monday Night Raw one season or two. Look at this photograph as one of their tunes. God. There's a lot of their songs that get a lot of airplay. I think two songs sound almost alike.
I'm looking right now, actually.
Look at this. Nickelback. Sorry.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
Nickelback. They think their music is awful, and yet so many of their songs charted. It was like, well, what do you want me to do? I can't tell people to not buy their music. But people still bought their albums. It's too late. I already got it out. Something slipped my mind. Who knows?
Yeah, Ben, you're right. Nickelback. And it's funny because for whatever reason, I was thinking, I wasn't thinking Nickelback. I was thinking Oasis. I don't know why Oasis popped in my head, but I was like, oh, Oasis. But I was like, no. You said it before I did.
Nickel and Creed, but they made so much money. Yes, they did.
And they were good bands. Like, they weren't my favorite, but they were good.
And there's a lot of bands where it's like they only get one hit that charts in America, and it's like, well, geez, they got all these other tracks that they released in other countries, but they never charted here, but they hit number one over there. It's like, what? Why didn't they get airplay over here? Like, anyway.
It's always interesting too, like the bands that maybe they don't succeed in the States and they succeed overseas, or vice versa, right? Like, and you're like, oh my God,
of course, they're overseas bands too. That's the thing.
Yeah,
they're not from America.
Yeah.
Snow Patrol is a band from Europe, and they only have one song that charted here, but they have all sorts of hits on their side of the planet. So, what? Anyway, I saw a comment that some of your songs charted.
Yeah.
Did what charted at like a Billboard or for hip hop?
Yeah, so there's a chart. The first charting song I had it's called a Heat Seekers chart. So a Heat Seekers chart is more in your demographic. So like if you're West Coast or Pacific Northwest or East Coast, they put you into a bracket. So think of it like if you're in a gaming championship and you're in the semifinals, but another state, and you're like, I'm in the semifinals before I get to the NWC, but I made it number one in these finals, right? So it's similar to that. So I had a record called Morning Light, which is back out there now. I had to republish it, but it's out. Morning Light is a record. It was my first hit record. Hence, that's the one my manager at the time stole from me. It was a huge ordeal. Morning Light is one. My record Vatos Locos Essay, the beat as Quixotic is another one. Crisis. I have quite a few. So there's quite a few records that have charted. My favorite out of all of them, I can say it now, but there's a song called Where Am I? And I actually, this is a funny little quick story. I sampled my producer at the time. I did not produce this instrumental. The producer I had at the time, and I can share this now because there's not a sunset clause over it now. I don't know who mentioned that. It might have been David because he would know. Is at the time we sampled Frank Sinatra. Anybody who knows anything, I love Frank Sinatra. I have his LP literally right there. The one I sampled, Come Fly Home With Me, is one of my favorite albums. Anyway, we sampled the song on there, and obviously we didn't have clearance. We were like, it's not going to go anywhere. It was one of my favorite records. Yep, there it is. We shot that on Sunset Strip. And it was
muted, by the way, so in case.
No worries. So, yeah, we shot that on the Sunset Strip, and we didn't actually clear the sample. What ended up blowing up, and it kind of caused a little bit of trouble because at the time, around this era, this like 2019, I was going to sign with Capitol Records. So there's a whole album There's a whole
Capitol
album.
Records. That's in my neck of the woods.
Yeah, Capitol Records. That was what we were making all these albums or all these records at the time to sign with Capitol. And the producer I was working with wanted a bigger share of the funds because he wasn't really included in the deal. It was more or less me, and we would hire him as a work for hire producer, and he didn't like that. And so pretty much terminated the whole, it messed it up. It was a mess. But anyways, Where Am I? It charted. It ended up being a Billboard charted hit, Heat Seekers hit, but got in a little bit of a fiasco because I sampled Frank Sinatra and didn't have clearance. Now, we had a blanket license at the time, which covered us to a certain extent of downloads and streams at the time. So we were able to recover and be like, okay, we'll relicense it. We'll give them another percentage of the royalties. No big deal. But when my producer dropped out of the whole situation, we have this term in producing called sample snitching. He literally wrote a letter to Capitol, which is the record label we're trying to sign to, right? Who owns Frank Sinatra's estate. Capitol Records, owns his estate. Oh man, it created a storm that I would have almost never weathered when the price came out to what they wanted after the song became a smash. So we ended up basically shelving the record along with 2 other records out of exclusivity to that producer. Mm-hmm. And that original album just didn't come out. So the version that you're playing on mute right now is the version that got released, but it took damn near at least a year for the sample to finally get cleared. So by then nobody cared. It's one of those things where they want it when they want it now. If you're hot at the time and you're sizzling, if you're the champion in the tournament, they want you at the next tournament. They don't care what's going on if you take a year off. The next guy's coming. So that's what happened. So that whole deal ended up being a complete flop. And it left me in a weird space, but independently at the time, my fans, they pretty much carried me. Then COVID happened. So then no more tours, right? So everything just kind of slowly started to decline. And that's when the gaming came into the big forefront. And I figured out a way to navigate both.
Ironic thing, during COVID, I was hopping mad because I didn't want to be confined. I broke every freaking rule. All right, it's like I did things that should have got me put in the ICU face down on an oxygen tank with 2 weeks to live. I made a lot of trips up north to the Galloping Ghost Arcade when they finally were able to get open. I never really got sick with
lucky you.
Maybe unlike other people who bought up all the toilet paper, I took my vitamins. I've been exposed to people who did have COVID and in close quarters, and because I had warning that they had it, I took a ton of vitamins, vitamin cocktail, and it minimized whatever symptoms I started experiencing, and it didn't last too long because turns out taking that vitamin D, the people who had COVID worse were deficient.
Oh yeah.
So if you took that vitamin D and zinc and whatever other vitamins, you were far better off than other people. Of course, the news media didn't want to champion that too much. They were in the big pockets of big pharma, and I hope justice, as they've been talking about, maybe looking at revoking or challenging the validity of the pardons. I'm hoping justice comes for those health officials who the only science they were following was political, not medical.
Yeah. Yeah, it's having that getting COVID at that time sucked. That was such a bad experience, but it could have been worse. You know what I mean? That was just a very weird time,
and I also refused to work from home. I did not like it. My colleagues at work want to work from home. I'm the only one who wants to go in the office every day because that's how I function. I have to have a routine. I do not want to bring my work home because all I do is procrastinate, and that's what I did during COVID. And plus, I wanted to spend my time making videos complaining about the government response to this, only for YouTube to and that idiot Susan Susan W. Jackie or whatever the heck her name is. She's no longer walking the face of the earth, and good riddance to her because she was in bed with the officials who are trying to violate our civil rights, stripping us of our freedom of speech, which I owe a great debt to Elon Musk to breaking that monopoly, despite all the people who are complaining about him being a trillionaire on paper. It's like, well, if it wasn't for him, you'd still, I guess, be in your basement waiting out the 14 years to flatten the curve.
Yep.
There's 6 years left on, or 8 years left on that, by the way, if you're still wearing a mask on your face. Anyway. God, Lee. I got off track, but I rant about this every March now, so.
That's about that time.
All right. Let me ask you this. Any of the arcades you've been at, have you heard of Galvin Ghost?
No, I have not. Other than you posting about it, and I've seen it somewhere else mentioned. Maybe in the Retro World Series Discord, because they always have tournaments at certain places and he lists them everywhere. Maybe that, but no. Other than that,
okay. No. Any of the gaming conventions you've been to? I know Southern Cal is a big one. California Extreme is another one, which seems to have a bunch of arcade games. I ain't gonna go to Portland because I don't think it's a safe place to go to, but any places besides Game On you've been to?
To be honest, no. That was actually the very first that I'd ever been to. And that's
really not even smaller ones.
No.
Not even swap meets or Comic Cons or
swap meets, yeah, but nothing that had any cool arcades in it. They just had bootleg games that you always had to make sure you had your tri-wing screw with to check. But that's
jeez. Yeah. Any music conventions?
Oh yeah, lots of music conventions. But to be honest, it's kind of weird. The music conventions didn't have anything to do with games.
Well, I wouldn't think that, but unless you're writing music for games, but
South by Southwest.
Yeah.
That's definitely one. That's probably the one that I would say. I was actually supposed to perform, but then COVID happened, so there went that.
All right. Are you doing any concerts?
I haven't since, well, I do usually once or twice a year, but they're usually hired events. So somebody will hire me to DJ one and perform or that kind of thing. So actively touring, I'd have to say no, I haven't.
Okay.
I've done really well with the gaming and I could do it all from my place now. So to answer your question without rambling, not as of recent, no.
How did you come up with the name Fresh C?
I didn't. So I had a whole different name, but going back to the origin story, a girl by the name of Courtney Moore, she randomly made up a rap in the back of the bus against me, being funny, right? And called me Fresh C in her rap, and it just stuck forever. So I earned that my sophomore year of high school when I moved from California to Arizona. So it wasn't something I came up with. She came up with, and it just never went away. So yeah, that's the origin. It came from a girl.
So this name here, Quixotic.
Oh yeah.
What's the origin of this, and how is this the band, or what is Quixotic?
So Quixotic is just my producer moniker, and I literally was looking for a word in the dictionary because I read so much, and I wanted it to be something that was not attached to Fresh C at all, where people wouldn't figure it out, which people never knew for years, for a long time.
So a pen name of sorts.
Yeah, so I came up with the name just looking through a dictionary, Webster's dictionary, and the definition, if you look it up how it's actually spelled,
with a C on the end,
yeah,
and with one X.
Yep, and it describes someone or something that's exceedingly idealistic, unrealistic, and impractical. And I was like, that's exactly who this moniker is, and that's exactly who I am as a whole. This fits. And I just put a extra X and a K on it because there's another artist who has a similar name, who's an EDM artist, and I didn't want them to get confused.
You know, the ultimate ironic that earlier today I was on the stream of King Can Black Man and he was playing this game.
Oh.
It is a Laserdisc game, but this is Super Don Quixote. Kind of like Dragon Slayer.
That's what I was going to say.
Goblin Ghost has it. I think it's made an appearance at California Extreme along with some other ultra rare Laserdisc games. But this was, yeah.
That's
Quixote.
pretty. It's pretty interesting, but Laserdisc games are so interesting. I've only ever seen one in person ever. Oh, and that's crazy. Yeah, that's nuts. Don Quixote.
Yeah.
I bet you're like, wait a minute, hold on.
Yeah, that game. King Cam, once he sees it with these, it's one of those quick time events. The entire game is quick time events. Dragon Slayer was the first Laserdisc game to come out, and that's probably the one you saw first, if you saw it.
Yeah.
Or Time Warp, one or the other. But, jeez. Well, future goals.
Future goals, one of them to be a actual full force champion in a lot of events. Star Fox is one. I know Mega Retro Man is the champ, but I've only been doing this for now for a short period of time. But we're gonna cross paths soon, eventually. So not only that, but NWC. So overall, retro gaming champion in any one of these great games. That's number one. Number two, I want to also start this retro gaming team for legends like yourself and new legends that are forging.
Brought that up. Rich Ambler brought that up.
Yeah, I pitched that to him as well. He's on board with it. There's quite a few of you guys champions that are on board with pushing it. Dory and I had a lengthy conversation on Twitter about. But yeah, so that's one of them. Starting a league to have you guys involved, all you gentlemen, all you legends and champions, but also have tournaments in various places. Something I'm working on. So I'll get your information after this concludes and have a more privy talk off air about some other things. So that's one, a retro gaming tournament. But there's also community-based stuff I would love to do. Again, of course, with my origin story, to be able to show other kids, have a place where other kids growing up who are maybe into video games or music, like a foundation that I'll put some funds into for them to be able to have these kinds of things. Maybe, not necessarily arcade, but a center they can play games, but also learn. Yeah, we can have all these games and consoles and whatnot, but also learn. Similar to the homework that I do, I feel like anything from music to gaming, to be great at anything, you have to look at the forefathers before you, the pioneers such as yourselves and others, to learn from, and also hopefully those will be willing to teach. And that's something that I want to incorporate within gaming and music that hasn't ever been done, to have great legends in the music industry that can come and teach about protecting your music, pioneers in the gaming industry that can teach you how to play games, learn from these tournaments and compete. Maybe like you said a little bit about it earlier, and I can kind of feel it from the music standpoint, where you said you and Thor shared the same struggle. So obviously there's something there that maybe not everybody knows about winning a championship, about going through those things that you may have went through, or Thor went through, or Rich, or all these other guys.
Thor went through a completely different set of circumstances than I did. He was kind of like the breadwinner of the family for a bit.
Sure.
I was struggling just to get a job in IT.
Gotcha.
And dealing with personality traits that didn't really fully get diagnosed until my 50s. And this goofball has decided to join us.
Well,
Cody, he crashed the show, so both cats have made the podcast today.
and my cat's been in and out today. I don't know. He was sitting. You can't see. I usually have another camera. There's a cat bed right here, and both of my cats usually hang out somewhere around the area. They came in and came out, but that's part of it. To have something community based, be a champion, and also do some more music things. But the last thing that I would say is helping getting a developer to develop I have a couple of video games that I've drawn up. This is long before I even got into this. Video games that I've had drawn up that I want to do all the music for, but I actually want to have characters, and this also brings back to the music and gaming, characters that are actually musicians and gamers in the game. So this is something I already have like a plot to written out, where I had a lot of time off. So like when I wasn't touring, I was thinking of other things. So there's quite a few things, man. There's a lot, but that's one of that. Those are just a few. So championship, a game with musicians and gamers involved in it, and to create the music and help develop a community-based some kind of project with kids and gamers and musicians involved to teach younger, probably underprivileged kids about music, gaming, and stuff like that. So
Have
those
you
are
heard of this one then? This one's
Rock and Rage.
Yeah.
No.
You're a guitarist running around the level just fighting enemies with your guitar.
No, I haven't
to rescue the lead singer of your band.
What the heck? Konami made this?
It's a Konami game. Galloping Ghost does not have this on the arcade floor. The world record belongs to a gamer in the Czech Republic.
Wow.
He maxed out the score.
Is it a good game?
I don't know. I would think if somebody would play this game all the way to the end. I would say some people would like to have this on the arcade floor. See you swinging that guitar and whacking enemies with it.
That is pretty cool. No, I've never seen this game. Now I got to look it up.
Yes.
That's nuts. No,
yeah, I bet it. Galvin Ghost brings out a new game every Monday. I just wonder when this might pop up out of nowhere. But this hasn't gotten much attention lately because the world record run was a few years back. So
okay.
And I believe it's a 3-player game.
No, this is interesting.
Nope, it's 2. It's 2. I think it's a 3-player version.
Throwing what looks like clef notes and smacking them with your guitar. That's pretty interesting.
Yes, you're jamming music at them, I guess, besides swinging your guitar. So I guess you can shoot at them.
It would be cool if the second player was a drummer and you hit him with your drumsticks.
I don't know. Maybe.
That's interesting.
Anyway, I had to show that off since you talked about designing a game with music, and I got to watch him because he might bite me.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And I have to throw him out of the room because he won't behave himself. Took a chunk out of my hand while I was sleeping last year.
Oh, dang.
And I had to go to urgent care and get antibiotics.
And he's just hanging out. Oh.
Yeah, he's ornery. You know what? You're out of here, boy. Take the keys, he'll run. There you go.
Spicy cat.
Hey. Oh, yes, he's spicy, all right.
Yeah. I have a tuxedo cat who's really funny like that.
Well, those gingers, you gotta watch out for them. Anyway, is there anything else that we want to cover before we get out of here tonight?
No, I don't think so. I would one thing I would like to say is I would love to have you as a guest on my podcast. Number one, if you.
What's the name of your podcast?
I'm not gonna air it yet. I'll tell you offshore. It's,
you don't have a name for it yet.
No, there's a name for it, but I'm not gonna. I don't want to put it out here yet. But I'll let you know. I'll let you know what it is. If you're up for it, I would love to have you as a guest. And then secondly, I would love to be a guest again in a future opportunity down the road.
maybe a round table with some of the other retro world championship players.
Yes, sir.
Or if something comes up that you're at some big deal that you're involved in that's coming up, that'd be another occasion.
I would definitely say for the next Game On Expo, I'm gonna be there for that. There'll be some Retro World Series stuff that I'll be involved in, and there's some other gaming stuff that is pretty big. I just gotta wait till the game comes out first. So once the game comes out, then I can openly talk about that. But yeah, for sure. And again, thank you for having me. Thank you for allowing me on your platform.
Yeah, I'm involved in this tournament. I talked about this earlier. Name Gaming League. Um, this is the second season I've been involved in this, and right now I'm sitting at first. I finished fifth overall in the last session, but
And
there's
question,
also. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask a question. How does this work? So on a tournament like this?
Um, you're playing for score on each game, and the scores are ranked from basically the top scorer gets the full 100 points, and then second place, third, fourth. I mean, it's subtract one for each rank lower than first, and the player with the highest number of ranking points wins it all. So the person may not necessarily be the top scorer on every game, but if they got more ranking points than another player, let's say one person's really good on 5 games, but terrible on the sixth one and is towards the bottom of the pile. Well, that if you got an anchor that's weighing you down, that will hurt your chances of winning. So the biggest question is, and then we go. Oh, we go over here. This is a tournament I enter every year at the Galvin Ghost Arcade, and we're still waiting to see if this even happens because one particular player has won it 10 out of 11 times.
Holy cow.
And he's running the Summer YOLO Olympics. And they just announced their 18 games today and announced the teams. And that's a team thing, too. There's multiple teams, and they had a draft, and I guess whoever. I didn't get in on it because I didn't know about it. But then again, what I've been able to have time to play it, I don't know. But this thing is staggered out over a longer period of time, so I can either play on MAME or I can play on the actual cabinet, and there's money involved for the person who wins overall. So
that's cool. Well, good luck on that. I will say one last thing though is to anybody in the chat too, just so you guys know, and then even yourself, come over to Kick sometime. I know it's different. I know the green side is very different than the purple side. However, in the calmest, coolest way, without depicting any side, the green side of things, the grass is literally greener. There's absolutely 4 retro streamers, myself, Rich, aka 10 Nestor over there, Deactivated Styles, and Commodore 64. We're the only 4 that play games on original hardware or competitive games or do full playthroughs at all. I think yourself and anybody else wanting to play retro, I think would do very great. You don't even have to deal with ads currently.
I will say that so many of these streaming platforms, StreamYard, Stream Elements, will allow you to stream on multiple platforms at the same time. Right now I'm streaming on Facebook and Twitch. If I wanted to do more than that, then I'd have to pay for that feature. Streamlabs will only do 2 at a time also. Now I'm paying for a subscription on StreamYard, which is what we're on right here.
Understood.
So I can only do 2. If I paid for a higher level subscription, then I could do more than just 2 platforms at the same time. But I'm comfortable with just the 2 I have right now because that's where most of my audience is. If
No pressure.
everybody migrated over to Kick, then I'd probably follow. But right now, everybody's on YouTube too. But
yeah,
I don't want to deal with their stupid little monetization garbage. There's so many daggum horror stories with that.
Yeah, YouTube's a little funky too. You can't even play any. I can't even play my own music on YouTube, and the only reason is because Content ID doesn't necessarily. It's a robot, you know. It
well,
doesn't
even
know.
then, it's like some video game songs are being deemed as we can't play this in such and such countries, and one of them on the list is Antarctica. Like, there's no government in Antarctica. What the heck is this?
Yeah, it's
meta. Dumb cluck suck.
It's interesting. That was my only side quest there. Is I love hanging out. It just sucks because I don't ever come to the Purple app. I'll come to yours now, and there's 2 or 3 other streamers I watch, but I don't come over here at all. Not after that. And that is the reason why my rap name is the profile on here and not Back in the Game Retro, because Back in the Game Retro on the Purple app was banned. So, and
all I can say is this: I have an account for just hanging out on people's streams, but Twitch needs to get their head out of their ass. Actually, you know what? Twitch, okay. Sore subject with Twitch. The CEO of Twitch needs to resign.
I agree.
Because of all the crap, and he's under a lot of heat for what happened to TwitchCon last year and all the chaos and some key streamers being accosted or assaulted. It's like this one girl, Imaru, or whatever her name is, Emily, got made the biggest stink over somebody just jumping the line and somebody that might have been armed.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
Yeah, Dan Clancy. Yeah, he needs to go. But if he goes, then maybe you can get get your channel back or something.
I tried. I appealed it. I even my lawyer and I drew up a draft to appeal. It's not gonna happen. So
sue their ass.
Yeah.
Sue their ass.
I'm gonna be honest. I like where I'm at. I really enjoy
Kick. Yes.
I love it over there. I kind of got a chance to rebrand and recreate something that doesn't exist. All I'm trying to do is, hey, if you feel like hanging out, make a Retro Man streams on Twitch, but he came over there and we don't really even know each other. So same thing with Jay Merck. I got him to start streaming over there a little bit. So I mean,
the same deal from YouTube to Rumble.
You know, come by and hang out sometime. You know, we might have a cool game that you might want to shoot the crap with, or, you know, a lot of the guys, you know, Rich is always there. There's always people to chat with. It's a good time. And the last thing I want to say is to everybody in the chat, like Jolt 7800, excuse me. I don't know who you are, but I appreciate you. Thank you for the kind words. Brian, which is a buddy of mine, and Ben, thank you guys for coming over and hanging out. Lady X, I know she left, but I just wanted to thank the people in chat that came to hang out with us too.
All right. Cody, I want to thank you for coming into the Crimeycade tonight. And he's been lurking here. All right.
Oh, yeah, Jay. Thank you, Jay, for hanging out. That's another one of our people hanging over out. But yeah, thank you.
If you can ever make it out to the Goblin Ghost Arcade, do so. It's the biggest arcade in the country, closing in 1,100 games, and you need to make it it's a destination trip.
I'll make that on my trip list. It's a definite possibility. I could do that. Yeah.
All right. Cody, thank you for coming in tonight, and maybe we'll see you around the arcade soon.
Thank you so much.
All right. Cody Silva, he is the Fresh Sea rap artist and retro gamer. Oh gosh, Cody, what was your Kick channel? I should have put.
It's okay. It's okay. It's I'll type it in the chat too. It's at Back in the Game Retro, as it's spelled.
On Kick.
Yeah, on Kick.
Okay. So if you're on the Kick.com platform, that's who you follow, or that's where you can find him. It's all right. I wish I got that earlier. Dang it. Didn't think about it.
It's all right. No worries. I feel like if people wanted to find me, I'm not hard to find at all.
All
Find me
right.
somewhere. But thank you.
All right. Have a good night. Oops. All right. That was Cody Silva. And so, quick few announcements before we get out of here and rate the channel. Chase for Tokens goes on, and nothing's changed. It's just the token counts have gone up, although Jimmy Tibbetts took a big jump in the last few days. And the power rankings, pretty much the same order. In fact, this is the same chart from last week, but the order has not changed at all. And the Gamer of the Year chase, well, this hasn't changed either. It's still Andrew Claudio on the top two. Mossy's is needing to come back. I know baseball season is keeping him away right now. And that always seems to cost him, at least when he battled Jamie Tibbetts for the Game of the Year title, and apparently it cost him in 2020 as well, when he lost it out to Pete Hahn, according to him. So, there's your top three. Mossy's has been quiet for quite some time. Lord BBH Matt Hull, all of his chances are tied up on his combo breaker trip to Chicago. But Sean Mackey's making a late run for the title, breaking into the top 20. JB Tibbetts playing some scores, so to speak, on, and there's always the chance for a dark horse that emerges. Arcade Wars game is Key of Fighters 98. Only one score has been submitted, so nobody's playing this. Interesting. Well, we only got a week left. Actually, 5 more days. June 30th. Yes, this game closes. Right now, One Up Arcade in Brisbane, Australia is the only one who's putting a score in. So you better get cracking on this. Gavin Ghost won this game last year, so we need to fail to put a play on it. Missouri Game Con 10, July 25th, 2026, Greenfelder Recreation Complex at 550 Weedman Road in Manchester, Missouri. I will be there for that. Pinball Expo on October 14th through the 17th, 2026 in Schaumburg, Illinois. That's year 42. Hopefully I make it there this year. Unlike the idiot over there that cost me a trip up there last year. And Gamers Are Wanted. If you're working gaming, you're a trained competitor, create content, have notoriety. Gaming Fanatic, let's talk. Message me here. Facebook.com/The Crimeycade. Who is my guest next week? We are back on Thursday, and my guest will be, as we announced earlier, on his pot and his stream. The King Cam Black Man will return to the Crimeycade. I want him back in here. There's a lot to talk about. The Gamer of the Year chase, for one. What he's doing now. Since, because there's been a lot of things that have been going on with him for the past, well, since the last time he was on as a solo guest. So, throw that logo up there. Anyway. He'll be on the Crimeycade next week. He'll also play Upbeat, which is a clone of Punch-Out featuring emo girls, July 2nd. The week after that, Ben Bizzle, the video game vendor, will be back, rescheduled from the storm damage, the storms that hit the area, and canceled my podcast outright. Geez, a few weeks ago. So this is the reschedule on July the 9th. By the way, I've got estimates on my house, and it appears I'm going to have to get half the roof redone. And we've had 5 waves of this really bad weather. Areas in central Illinois have been really hit hard. In fact, there's tornado warnings up in the Chicago area today. And wave 6 is coming through tomorrow and Friday. Again, another round of bad weather going through Illinois. And Illinois is leading all other states on number of tornadoes this year for 2026. Illinois has become literally Tornado Alley. Yeah, it's bad. And trees got removed. Still got piles of limbs from the derecho that went through that took it down. So many trees. Anyway, after this, I think I'm going to take a break until July the 30th. The 2 weeks after, I have something going on Thursday. 2 weeks in a row, and this week is one of them. This week I have something going on tomorrow. I got to go out to a festival show. So 2 weeks, the 16th and the 23rd, I'll be at a festival show somewhere in the state of Illinois on Thursday. So, and plus, there's like the 23rd, that's right before Missouri Game Con. And I got to go through a bunch of stuff, sort through it, price it out, and test some consoles. Anyway. And I got to go guest hunting again. Anyway, so there'll be a break. I'll take a couple week break on that. Anyway, that will do it for this edition of the Crimeycade podcast. I am going to raid the channel, and who am I going to raid tonight? And who, if I get the right window up, but I want to thank you all for coming in, and I am going to stream later. I will be streaming because I'm still in this video game tournament, so I got to raise my scores, and there's quite a ways to go. So I guess I'm going to give a raid to, oh gosh. Oh, he's still going? No way. Now, all right, I guess I'm going to give it to, dang. All right, I'm going to give it to Akira. I convinced somebody to give him a raid earlier, and now I'm going to give it to him. Give more of my viewers over to him. So right now, what is he playing? Is he playing Dark Souls? Yeah, he's still playing Dark Souls. So I'll see you later. Gameplay stream, and see you next week with King Campbell Pac-man. Have a good night, everybody.